Shalom, shalom. This is Kaparia, aka Pops out of GMS, Chicago, with a brief sit down. Before I get started, though, like always, I want to send all praises, honor, and glory out to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, and Kakwadash. To the apostles and elders of GMS out of New York and the elder bishops out of Connecticut, I send double honors because they do rule well. For the brethren around the world, push the truth uncut, unfiltered, giving good, bad, and ugly. The prophecies correctly break it back. Correctly breaking down the prophecies and interaction with the people on the planet in the heart of Shalom. But hopefully, like to hope this is satisfying. This is gonna be real brief, And first of all, let's get this understood. This is Dick Gregory. He's some kind of supposedly worldly intellectual and this, that, and the other. He don't know the truth, this, that, and the other. But I was sitting here with my roommate the other day, and I told him I was going to do this. Sit down. I said, let me get back to it and do it. And I told him I was going to use Dick Gregory. He said, he this and he that, but the one thing he do know is he know that the white man, the so-called white man, the Edomite, is the devil. Okay, he said that. Okay, and Dick Gregory does know that. He knows that he can't trust this and he can't trust that when it comes to this man because the man is untrustworthy. He's gonna handle a long and rigorous interaction with this Edomite. So, but he's being interviewed about Michael Jackson. Okay. And I put some comments up on the thing, like I said, when I first saw it, because I went and looked up some things and I put it in there so you go see my thumbnail in here as far as uh, GMS 144 in this thing when I go to the comment section. But anyway, long story short, um, I'm gonna let this play. Then I'm gonna let you see what I put in. And I'm gonna put a couple scriptures to it and call it a day. It seems like he knew that fix, that money, it was never enough. Michael Jackson, I mean, it seems like he knew that fix, that money, it was never enough. Never about money, even in your childhood. So you always be trying to talk about shit you don't know. He didn't come. And I've always said this. I've always said this, even before I was ever in the truth, that the guy never had a childhood. So when he went into that whole uh, Neverland thing, that we're now finding out that basically he was getting people, keeping them kids away from the Epstein Islands, and this, that, and other. So all how the scripture goes. How is Esau thing sought? Oh, let me get that. Let me get that scripture real quick. Okay, let me get that scripture real quick. Let me go and get that. As they say, as an apostle, around I said, push the button. I had a couple of scriptures written down, but once you push the button and get started, different things come up. So you just get to getting into it, and things just start flowing. That's where they're supposed to go. So let's go to this here real quick. Obadiah 1. I'm gonna start at 6. And I'm gonna jump around here a little bit. How are the things that Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? So how do we know how this man is operating? Okay, in this system, and this, that, and other, because this is the blueprint of how he was going to be operating, you know, through the different time frames to get up to these last days, and the things that he'll be doing, so that we can put these scriptures to what we see and be able to break it down. Okay, I'm gonna go up to Verse 3. The pride in thy heart have deceived thee, that thou dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And this Edomite thought he had got so far up, so high up, that nobody would be able to touch him. Okay, now understanding that he had never exalted himself above the clouds, which is going to be in Isaiah the 14th chapter that I'm going to read. But he's being brought down, okay? Through the word, through us just being on the internet and pushing the word and letting this internet push it to the four corners. This man is being brought down. So now let me go back here and get that one to put those two in. We'll go back here to this. There we go. Try to get back over here to that. There we go. Come on back up. See? That's what I'm saying. Esau technology. Okay.
Levels to Michael Jackson. Let's start with the levels of Michael Jackson. What about start?
See how he wants to. Let's go do all this. Give me. I'm gonna pause this while I get that back.
Some money, it was never enough. Never about money, even in your childhood. So you don't always be trying to talk about shit you don't know. He didn't have a fucking childhood. Huh? Alright? He had all the money he wanted, all the fame he wanted. Huh? But he never bounced the ball. Huh? So y'all gonna sit there and talk about somebody you ain't never talked to him. Huh? Michael Jackson. Huh? A child. His mind was a child. Michael was killed at 2 o'clock in the morning from a laser. I thought it was because of the Sony thing. They wanted. I believe there was. But that's because you don't have the information. Okay. Huh? Okay. I said he was killed by a laser. I didn't come here to find out what you think. I'm just asking. No, you didn't. You said you thought. I'm not interviewing you. You interviewing me. I don't want to hear it. Okay. Go sit in.
Okay, so now let's deal with this. Now let me go into the thing because when I saw that you're gonna see when I pull this up as far as in the comments. Okay, as you can see, GMS Hero 144. I looked this up. Okay, and whatnot. As you can see, it was a day ago, and this, that, and the other. Uh, okay. Let me. I asked the question. I asked it a question, and this is what I got. Somebody commented on it about 13 hours ago. Internal organ damage. High power lasers can occasionally cause internal injuries or organ damage without obvious external signs if they are of a specific wavelength or intensity that penetrates deeper than the skin surface. That's the rest of it is my comment. I looked into it and found this. So I found this on when I Google it in AI. Now let me bag this out just one. I'm gonna show you the second one that I got. And I looked this up. Okay. Lethal mechanisms and physical effects targeted organ failure. A laser doesn't need to destroy a body to be fatal. Okay, because people talk about, man, if you get hit by a motherfucking laser, you hear this man ranting and raving, and you think he's stupid or crazy and whatnot. But like you said, he's got inside info on what it is. He's known this family. Like I said, I grew up listening to the Jackson Five, and this man was prominent then, and he's still kind of in the know as far as that family. So autopsies could be this and that, and say this and say that for the public, but the family could. This guy was well known enough and had been around that family enough that them family members will tell them what the autopsy that wasn't shown to the public actually happened. You know, and what happened? They caught up they got Jake on Jake crime. Basically, you got a Israelite doctor that was treating them, and this, that, and other. So he was taken out, and the Israelite is serving the time for him being taken out like that. But let's look at this: lethal mechanisms and physical effects targeted organ failure. A laser doesn't need to destroy a body to be fatal. It only needs to penetrate deep enough to cause critical failure of a vital organ like the heart or brain. This will leave a relatively small cauterized hole similar to a narrow bullet wound without the bleeding, as the heat seals blood vessels. Come on now, put two and two together. Let me show you what you got. Think about it. Think about it. Let's see if y'all can figure it out. Michael Jackson did that Pepsi commercial, right? Remember? He had scarring on his head. Remember, he had to wear that bandage for a while and said, no, that means that burned to his scalp and it left scarring on his head. You can target that area and put the man down. You wouldn't have blood. You wouldn't have a hole burned in the head and all this other kind of stuff because it was all cauterized. But the man died. And they could say he died in his sleep. Ta-da. Okay? This man's technology. This technology is what makes this man think that he's going to be God. That he's going to be able to be God. Okay? All right? So the narrow bullet wound would, but without the bleeding, as the heat seals blood vessels, cauterize the vessels, but it destroys the brain. It kills them without having to do anything. As you can say that he overdosed and went and fell asleep. Comb the hair, boom, you don't even know it's there. Okay? Let's go back.
Tell me you thought it was the Sony thing, huh? What was the Sony thing about? Tell my grandmother.
Okay, and the Sony thing was him on that. And this man, like I said, it was reported at $60 million that he supposedly bought it. But Dick Gregory is going to quote 48 million. Okay?
Well, my understanding was that he was going to get the Beatles catalog. He already had it. He bought the Beatles catalog when his people told him to buy it. He bought it for $48 million. When they killed him, it was worth $2.5 billion. What?
Yeah, and he said that he had did good business. Okay. Michael Jackson was breaking that down and telling how he had did good business. As a matter of fact, let me get that real quick. This should have been able to easily come up. There you go.
Anyway, first let me say, I really don't like to talk that much. I really don't. I prefer to perform than talk. You know, let me just
He said Sony kills. If y'all didn't see that.
say this. The tradition of great performers from, and I really want you to hear what I have to say. The tradition of great performers from Sammy Davis Jr. to James Brown to Jackie Wilson to Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly. The story is usually the same though, you know, these guys work really hard at their craft, but the story ends the same. they usually are broken apart and really just sad. The story is very sad in the end because the companies take advantage of them. They really do. And Sony Sony, being being the artist that I am at Sony, I've generated several $billion for Sony, several billion, and they really thought that my mind is always on music and dancing, and it usually is, but they never thought that this performer myself would outthink them. We can't let them get away with what they're trying to do because now I'm a free agent. I just owe Sony one more album. It's just a box set, really. It's with 2 new songs, which I've written ages ago. Because every album that I record, I'm like literate. I mean, I write at least 120 songs every album I do. So I can do the box set and just do the 52 songs. So I'm leaving Sony a free agent. Owning half of Sony.
And that's all you needed to hear. He left Sony owning half of Sony. Okay? So they wasn't gonna let him get away with that. That's what they was on. That's what they did. And this is how this man lived. Okay, like I said, in technology, D. Gregory told you about the technology. People, like I said, see, I'm ex-Air Force. I'm ex-Air Force, so I know that they can have this stuff out there like that, you know. Guys used to walk close century in the 40s and 50s in front of the B-52 uh, uh, bombers, and the guys they wanted to stand in front, not understanding that they wanted to stand in front because it felt warmer. But basically, what was happening is the hemoglobin in their blood was actually being cooked from the radars being on. So they were standing in front of a microwave with the microwave shooting the waves out in front of the airplane. So even though it could be cold, like Minot, North Dakota, or whatever, it could wind up being feeling decent to them, to the entry control point security specialist that would be on that plane, because it feels warm because his blood is basically being cooked from the inside. Okay? So I say that to say this. So I'm just gonna get to this scripture, this last set of scriptures, and break this down and be done with it. Because this man is a wicked person that thinks that he can get away and do all kinds of things. So let me go and get these other scriptures real quick. Let me go to Proverbs first. Proverbs 21, but I want to get 12 and 13. Proverbs 21, 12 and 13. The righteous man wisely considereth the house of the wicked, but God overthroweth the wicked for their wickedness. Okay? The righteous man wisely considereth the house of the wicked. Like I said, Dick Gregory doesn't know anything about the truth. But I'm sure he's seen the prophets because he's a man of travel. So I'm pretty sure he'd have been down there where the apostles have been at on 34th. Okay, that's where they used to drop the apple. I mean that's where they dropped the ball on New Year's Eve and all this other kind of stuff. So I'm sure he'd walk through there and I heard them talking and this, that, and other. But he's not a man of wisdom, not on that extent. He's got some wisdom, but it's not wisdom that's going to save his soul. So how much wisdom does he actually have? Okay. 13. Who stoppeth his ears at the cry of the poor. He also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard. Okay. So these people don't hear us. These 2/3 don't hear us. And the Lord is not going to hear their cry when they cry out too. Okay? But as it says in the scripture, a wise man will hear and be able to add on to it. So that's all I'm doing. I'm adding on to something. I'm making what he said make sense. Okay. Isaiah, the 14th chapter, because this man wants to be God. This Edomite wants to be God. Okay, so I'm gonna go there. We'll go 5 and 6 first. Isaiah 5 and 6, and I'm gonna jump around here. Isaiah 5 and 6. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. Sure, the elites, the Rockefellers, the Oppenheimers, the DuPonts, the Gettys, the Rothschild. Sure, they still in power, but the rest of the world is going up in disarray, and they think that they're actually controlling it, but all they doing is moving closer to their destruction, whether they understand it or not. And sure, they've got the underground bunkers and all these other kind of things that they go be able to go into, but that's just gonna make them be able to be first round slaves in the kingdom of heaven here on earth as it is in heaven, as the Lord's prayer says. Okay. Uh he who's he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke. Michael had actually outsmarted him business wise, but then they put him to death. So that's them. He that ruleth the nations in anger is persecuted and none hinder. They took him out. They didn't tell the truth how they was taken out, and this, that, and other. But you have people behind the scenes that know what happened on some levels, and they say things on some levels, and how things are Esau searched out, as the book of Obadiah says. Because we can see this, we can hear what they saying. We know the laser technology that they've got, and this, that, and the other. You've got people that's been in those circles in some form or fashion or another. And as they say, they can read in between the lines. Okay, let me jump down a little bit more. Uh, verse 11. Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows, the worm is spread under thee, and the worm covered thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? So now we're talking about Satan, son of the morning. How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? Who wanted to Who wanted to fight with America after America did what they did to Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Nobody. For thou hast said, like how I will ascend into the heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. This man think he's God. And that's all leads, and all of this is leading to Revelation 13 and 16, the MOTB. Okay? All this is to play out for that. This digital currency that's going to eventually wind up getting around to having to be implanted in your body or in the brain chip. When you take that, you've turned your back on the Lord, and there is no redemption for an Israelite. Okay? For an Israelite, there's no redemption behind that. You can't redeem yourself from it. And for the other nations, there's no redemption for you all. You're going to go into slavery. You're going to do 1,000 years of hardcore slavery. And at the end of that, Esau, Edom is going to be burnt up. And that's the way this goes. And I'm done with that. That's the end of that lesson. Because of the fact that, like I said, this man thinks that that he did all his wickedness and he'll get away with it, but he's not. So with that, I hope that that's edifying. I'm saying all praises, honor, and glory out to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, and Kakodash. Again, double honors to the apostles and elders and senior and the bishops out of Connecticut. To the hopefully like a hearty shalom, and for the rest of the world above the ball.